Hey everyone, my name is Reese, and this is the presentation I did for this week's reading. You're gonna forgive me if I get some of the words wrong. I'm not the best at pronouncing things. Nicomachean Ethics from Aristotle. So yeah, let's get into it. So three of the main points that I was able to take away from the article was firstly, eudaimonia as the highest good, which is where Aristotle's arguing that the goal of human life is to reach this ultimate happiness and just flourishing in your life, and like that is what you live for. You live for reaching this ultimate place of happiness, and that's what people are trying to achieve, whether or not it be knowingly or unknowingly. Secondly, he introduces the golden mean, the doctrine of mean, which is about finding your moral virtue. They're being found in moderation, meaning you're not overindulging or being too frugal in different areas of your life, and you're finding a good middle ground, like a good happy place where you're not over consuming or under consuming in any parts of your life. And lastly, the role of habits in your virtue. Aristotle believed that you have to repeat actions and have good habits in order to build that in your lifestyle, and that in your lifestyle will become a part of your character, and being a part of characters being a part of who you are as a person. So with that being said, that kind of made me think of a discussion question like, how does Aristotle's idea of eudaimonia as the highest good, his concept of the golden mean, and his role of habits in developing virtue work together to shape a person's moral character? When thinking of this question, it made me think of the similarities in the ID, the ego, and the superego. How your ID is, I want this now, this is what I'm gonna have. And it doesn't really think about reason, it just thinks about desire and what you just want. And how your superego is, your moral high good, like, no, I shouldn't do this. This is what I should do. This is how I should be. And then your ego is what you are going to do. The eudaimonia is highest good, the golden mean, and habits like your virtue. Those kind of ideas kind of reminded me of those as well. But overall, these are all concepts that shape who you are because they're just different ways of life and different action to take to make you who you are in different ideas. So yeah, here's one passage from what the reading that I thought really kind of captured this whole idea of Aristotle's argument. So yeah, I'm just gonna read it. Let us, however, resume our discussion from the point which we digressed. To judge the lives that men lead, most men, and some men, the most vulgar type, seem, not to without some ground, to identify the good or happiness with pleasure, which is the reason why they love the life of enjoyment. For they are, we may say, three prominent types of life. That just mentioned, the political, and thirdly, the contemplative life. Now, the mass of mankind are evidently quite salvish for their taste, preferring a life suitable to beast. But they get some ground for their view from the fact that many of those in high places share the taste of sardanapals. And consideration of the prominent types of life show that people of superior refinement and of active disposition identify happiness with honor. For this, roughly speaking, the end of the political life. But it seems to be too superficial to be what we are looking for, since it is a thought to depend on those who bestow honor rather than on him who receives it. But the good we divine to be something proper to a man and not easily taken from him. Further, men seem to pursue honor in order that they may be assured of their goodness. At least it is by men of practical wisdom that they seek to be honored, and among those who know them, and on the ground of virtue, clearly then, according to them, at any rate, virtue is better. I know that was a lot. I really struggled to read a lot, especially written in this kind of way. But basically, what I took away from this and how I felt like this really related to Aristotle's arguments was that it talked about lots of different lifestyles. People live different ways, people have different values and different walks of life. But in every one of those walks, they all have the same goal, reaching this ultimate happiness. Which, that's his main idea, what he talks about, what he believes all people are really looking for in life. So there you go. Okay, here's another passage. So I'm gonna read and I'm gonna like kind of share what I thought about it. Since then, the present inquiry does not aim at theoretical knowledge like the others, For we are inquiring not in order to know what virtue is, but in order to become good, since otherwise our inquiry would have been of no use. We must examine the nature of actions, namely how we ought to do them. For these determine also the nature of stages of character that are produced. As we have said now that we must act according to the right rule, common principle, and must be assumed. It will be discussed later. Both what the right rule is and how is related to other virtues. But this must agree upon beforehand. That whole amount of matters of conduct must be given an outline and not precisely. As we say in the very beginning of accounts, we demand, in accordance with the subject matter, matters concerned with the conduct and questions of what is good for us to have no fixity, and any more than matters of health. The general account being of this nature, the account of practical cases is yet more lacking in exactness, for they do not fall under any art of precept, but the agents themselves must, in these cases, consider what is appropriate to the occasion, and happiness also in the art of medicine or navigation. I'm sorry. But again, this just further emphasizes the idea that these are all these virtues and all this stuff is going to be applied in our life. Like we're not just learning this stuff like most theories that are learned just to learn them and expand your knowledge. Like this is stuff that we learn and apply. You can apply it to your life today. You can apply it to other people's life today. It just is something that is more practical rather than something that's just learning for the sake of learning. With that being said, this is kind of like a reflection question. Like, how can we apply Aristotle's idea that there are no strict rules for every situation in our own lives, especially when making decisions about what is right and wrong? And that one really makes me think because, again, what is right and wrong is seen in our values and what our own character reflects as right or wrong. Because again, in like ethics, like, do I believe this is right and wrong? Do they believe this is right or wrong? Like in culture, so on and so forth. So we can apply, I think we can apply that there are no strict rules like in our own lives. Like this just goes like with culture. You just give everything your best judgment and you take everything in. You're like, okay, use your critical thinking skills. Like, is this ethical? Is this logical? Is this right? Is it humane? And then take your own personal best course of action from there. Just some real world examples that I was thinking of that we could really apply the three main points into your life. Firstly, would be work-life balance, which would be, the eudaimonia, which is, the feeling of ultimate happiness, and the golden mean, finding good balances, not overindulging, underindulging. Many people struggle with finding a balance in their everyday life, not overindulging in work and burning themselves out and, not giving enough time to their personal needs or their personal just growing and development, or they don't have enough work ethic that push themselves and they overindulge in themselves in the now and they don't think about what's next. So finding, a good balance can help lead you to a happier spot in your life. This will also be applied in leadership and your decision making, finding the good balance. Like being a leader and making decisions, you have to come to a place where you can't be too authoritarian. You can't come down too hard on the people that you're trying to lead, but you also can't be too lenient and let people get away with too much and, get walked all over. You have to find a good spot in your life where you're like, okay, what is good this way? What is good that way? How do I find a good middle ground where I can still lead, where I can still make the good decisions I need to make, but also where you are able to, still not be too up there. And then lastly, another way I thought would be, practicing personal growth practice, your habits, your virtue, developing good habits like exercising, having mindfulness reflects Aristotle's ideas of your virtue, your character. Doing through these repeated actions, these will become a part of you, which promote a better lifestyle for you and also can help you reach this ultimate happiness, which he talks about achieving in your life. And this leads to one last question to think about, like in your own life, not like examples that we can think like that, Like in your own life today, where can you apply Aristotle's ideas, whether it be your own personal well-being, your relationships, or your decision making? And that this makes me think in my own development because I know, like even for this, I am recording this the Saturday that this is due in the morning before I go to work. And I am very much overindulging in work and in school, and I'm not taking a lot of time in my life for my personal and what I like to do and how I can grow for myself other than educating myself and making money. So I really need to think about myself like, okay, what can I do? Where is this being too much? Where can I cut back? But where can I also still continue to achieve what I need to achieve? How can I better live my life to where I am reaching, this ultimate goal of happiness, which is talked about. And, with that being said, that was it. That's kind of all I had. Thank you guys for listening. I apologize for anything, but yeah, uh, good luck this week. I know I needed it.